Is there any relevance of native speaker norms? That's a question for TEFLologists. Is it better to focus on form or to focus on forms? That's a question for TEFLologists. If you use a textbook, is your classroom authentic, or should your approach be more learner-centric? From feedback to learner autonomy, we'll discuss it all on TEFLology.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome back to the TEFLology Podcast, a podcast all about teaching English as a foreign language and related matters, presented by three self-certified TEFLologists.
TEFL cultures.
Okay, so for this week's TEFL cultures section, I'd like to talk about something that I'm hoping to develop into possibly a PhD project. And it's very bare bones at the moment. It's just a very loose idea, but it's something that I've been observing in my current work position and within Japan, although I'm hoping that this could be applicable to other countries around the world. So firstly, I'd like to begin by asking both of you, what's your relationship with local teachers of English? In the way, how do you see the difference between your professional development and their professional development?
First of all, what do you mean by local teachers?
What I mean is, so we're obviously from the UK and from, I know where you're from, Matt. You're from everywhere.
Including the UK.
Including the UK.
Yeah.
The UK is part of everywhere.
Yes.
And we're obviously teaching English in Japan. So I guess what I mean by local teachers are Japanese teachers of English.
Okay.
In our context.
Yeah, I think that there is. I mean, we've spoken privately before. There's kind of there are these two associations in Japan. There's JALT and JASET, the Japan Association of Language Teachers, and the Japan Association of College English Teachers.
That's
I think
right.
it's called.
Yes. Yeah.
And JALT is basically mostly foreign people, and JASET is mostly Japanese people, and there doesn't seem to be that much crossover there. And the way that everything's kind of these two groups seem to be kind of self-limiting. It's a shame, I think. They seem not to interact that much. So I think there's a gap there, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we'll get onto that later. Matt, any thoughts?
So when I first started working in Japan, I worked as an assistant language teacher in junior high schools and high schools. And so I was basically team teaching with Japanese teachers. Yeah, I mean, I guess the interesting thing maybe is that even though we were team teaching this class, we were obviously in very different positions in terms of, I don't know, other things we were supposed to do outside the classroom.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point as well. So one term that I've been thinking about recently is this idea of parallel professional practices.
Okay.
In ELT in particular, talking about
PPP.
Parallel professional practice.
I guess, yeah, it could be that
PPP.
too. Yeah. And this is something that I feel, especially in my current workplace, that there seems to be these two kind of lines of professional development that I can kind of see between local teachers and non-local teachers.
Right.
And it's quite a crude observation at the moment, and I don't have any work or research to justify this view, but I feel that where we should be pulling in the same direction or moving in the same direction, we seem to be kind of leading our own kind of, or going through our own kind of struggles.
Right.
Even though we're all within the same profession.
So you mean, you were talking about professional development, you mean pursuing professional development in two different ways?
Yeah, so let me unpack this a bit. So in my current position, I work alongside Japanese teachers and teachers from other countries, and we're all on equal footing. Some of us are doing PhDs, some of us aren't, some of us have ideas too, but I think all of us have different motivations for why we'd perhaps want to do a PhD. And this is just one example, one area. And my argument is if the non-native speaker question if the playing field is a bit more fairer, arguably, in terms of recruitment, then are our aims the same for doing a PhD.
Right. Okay, so just for PhDs?
That's just one example.
Okay.
Because my motivation for doing a PhD would arguably to secure full-time employment in the future, because I want to develop this own idea myself.
Yeah.
However, in conversation with other people, it seems like some people want to do a PhD because they feel it will set them apart from the native speaker teacher.
Right. You mean foreign people will do it for that reason?
I mean, I'm talking about the local teachers.
Okay.
Like the motivations for a local teacher wanting to do a PhD.
Okay.
And I think it might be different to our motivation.
So doing a PhD or professional development in general?
That's one discourse that I'm thinking about looking at.
Okay.
And the other area is the Jout-Jasset divide.
Right.
And I think that's also another area where there's like kind of parallelism in terms of research interests.
Okay. So
That's
parallel.
another area I want to look at.
Yeah, I mean the term parallel to me, it sounds like you've got people going towards the same goal,
Yes.
but doing it in a kind of an unconnected way.
Sure. Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you're talking
That's
about?
what I mean. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you see that? How does that manifest? Like what are these differences?
Okay, so one difference is the two membership in organisations such as Jout and Jasset, which you talked about earlier. The types of research interests at both places, which I'd argue are quite different.
Okay.
I think we're into very different things.
What do you think the differences there would be?
Just from a very casual observation, it seems like if you go to places like Jasset, it's more heavily data-driven. It's more empirical,
Right.
and it's more focused on things like vocabulary.
Okay.
Whereas Jout, for example, seems less empirical, more kind of idea-based, more kind of call technology-based. So
More
this
classroom-based, maybe.
perhaps, yeah, this seems like a parallel divide. There's also been other people that have written about the type of role that an investment that people have in these organisations as well. Jasset has a very different expectation of their members than Jout does, for example.
Okay.
And I think that's a kind of another area where we're kind of in a parallel kind of professional development position.
So why do you think? I mean, it's not like there's a genetic reason for that. Why do you think that divide?
Well, I think that
exists?
one reason for that is of the native speaker ideal that a lot of institutions seem to have in terms of their recruitment policies.
Right.
And one area that I was thinking about going further with is this: if and maybe your research as well, perhaps, if the playing field is fairer now. So if we take that out of the equation.
So you mean if you make hiring fairer, then people's professional development paths converge?
Well, that's what I'd hope.
Okay.
And that's what I'd like to see, arguably.
All right.
Surely we should all be pulling in the same direction.
I wonder what the direction would be. So you've said that there are these two different kind of camps, in a sense. The more kind of data-driven, research-driven camp, and the more sort of.
I mean, this is all just casual
Right.
at the moment. So.
Yeah, but I mean, are you saying one of those is better than the other, or they should be brought together, or I mean, is there an outcome that you think
There's
is?
no better or worse. With this idea that I'm thinking of, I'm just thinking of alongside one another.
Okay.
There's no better or worse. It's parallel. It's alongside.
But do you see it as a problem that the two broadly defined groups are moving towards the same goal but in different ways?
I mean, I don't even know if we are moving towards the same goal either.
Right.
You know, whatever that goal is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a complex issue, I think.
Right.
Like, what are
Parallel
goals?
lines will never converge, as we know.
Unless they're on what's it called? Like on a certain
sphere or something?
on non I forgot what it's called. Yeah, but they do converge in non-Euclidean geometry.
Right.
So
But
that's
we're clearly sticking with Euclidean.
Okay.
That's an interesting
discussion.
analogy. Yeah, but on a very micro level as well, the kind of actions or the kind of professional development we do on a kind of in a work environment, like what we're doing here now, for example, I wonder how we are viewed by local teachers, for example. Because I think this in itself is an example of professional development.
You mean doing this podcast?
Right now, right here.
Yeah.
Just speaking about what we're doing now.
Yeah.
I wonder if different concepts of legitimacy have something to do with it. So I feel, it seems from speaking to my Japanese colleagues that a lot of them are interested in kind of the legitimacy of the field as a science. And I think that that's kind of the way that they've maybe approached it. And obviously it depends on the individual, but I think that seeing it as a science maybe leads them more towards that, and that could be something to do with the type of training that goes on, the fact that training is often done through postgraduate courses, whereas a lot of foreign teachers come into teaching more from kind of a practical, just classroom standpoint, where they've maybe done a CELTA or whatever, or maybe with no experience, and so maybe that's the reason for these different trajectories, and maybe some of the foreign teachers don't take it as seriously as a science. Maybe they think that that's all just hot air.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Like I say, these all come from like very kind of casual observations within my workplace, and the way that, and I don't want to make this an us and them kind of thing, because I think it's more complex than that.
Yeah.
But the home teachers, they seem to do things that we don't do, and we do things that they don't do.
Is that just
doesn't seem fair to say either, but
is that just a group thing? People hang around in groups.
It could be,
because people just do tend to hang around in groups with people who are kind of more similar to them or whatever.
Right.
In general.
Do you think a similar situation exists in other countries?
I don't see why it couldn't. You know, if you have teachers from the UK, for example, coming over to a country and they want to get by, they want to get higher in the country.
Right.
They're going to look for ways to do that. But then if local counterparts are vying for the same position, I think this only exists in workplaces where we are treated as equal.
Right. So do you think this, maybe a factor here is just that kind of old idea that in general, in Japan at least, the native English speaking teachers are more likely to teach like speaking lessons, and the Japanese teachers are more likely to teach grammar, vocabulary lessons. Do you think that plays a part? That's a belief, right? What do they call it? Like a legitimacy.
Well, it is true that happens, but why are people assigned that? I mean, that's down to what are considered the correct skills, or.
Yeah.
And I think this.
But do you think that plays a part in the type of research that people do?
Yes, yeah. So that could inform research, but it could also inform people's kind of propulsion to professionally develop away from that as well. Arguably.
Sure.
So so this is a whole area that I'm thinking about unpacking.
I think it's an interesting idea.
Thanks. That's today's TEFL culture: parallelism in professional development.
TEFL News.
Today's TEFL News is about the Oxford English Dictionary. So in the past we did a segment talking about new words that have been introduced to the dictionary. It seems to be something that happens monthly.
I think it's annually. It just feels like every few months.
Okay. Well, anyway, this is what I've done is I've got the list of new words for September 2016 for the new edition of the Oxford English Dictionary.
Okay.
And I want to talk about first of all, well, obviously what the words are. How do they select the words? And I've categorised the words into a few different categories, which. We'll go into.
Okay.
So first of all, what words would you predict have been brought into the dictionary this year?
I know
Pokestop.
Pokestop.
I'd say Brexit.
Brexit. No, neither of those are on the list. So we'll get to what is on the list in a minute. But how do you think that they choose words for the dictionary? The Guardian has
Poorly.
a whole story about that. Poorly.
Well, I presume it's done by corporate.
Correct. It's not an interesting answer. The Guardian has a whole thing trying to make it interesting. It's not interesting. They've got a team of 15 people who go through corpuses and then check words and then see how they've been used and how much they've been used and do research and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then they decide which words are acceptable. And they have apparently a time limit, usually of about 10 years from the initial introduction of a word to when it has been accepted. Because it takes that long for it to build up to a level where it's considered an acceptable word. Although with certain words, for example Brexit, the introduction and the popularisation has happened so quickly, apparently Brexit will probably have an entry next year.
Okay.
Also, it's not in this year.
About Brangulexit?
Brangulexit.
How about words like selfie?
Selfie. Well, I don't know. I haven't read the dictionary.
So when you say 10 years, that's the most common kind of time frame?
Yeah, like it's kind of a rough estimate.
Right.
Yeah. So there are quite a lot of new words. I've got 4 pages of words in tiny type.
Huh.
And we'll go through. I've put them into the following categories: foreign words, so words originally from foreign; Americanizations or American words, I guess. Words following social trends, words that it is surprising that are not already in the dictionary, and words that I don't know what they mean.
Okay.
So first of all, foreign words.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give these to you, see if you can identify them. Aya.
Can we see it written down?
Aya. AIYAH.
Shorthand for saying hiya, which is also shorthand for saying hello.
Well, so this is an interjection.
Okay.
So it's something you say, just sort of marks something. Aya.
Bought a new watch the other day.
Do you know what that's? No, it's not that.
No.
No, this is Chinese actually, and I know this because my sister can speak a bit of Chinese. And yeah, aya is it's an interjection when you're kind of exasperated or whatever.
Okay.
That's one. There's actually a lot of foreign words, which. Yeah, I mean, why do you think so many foreign words come in, and at what point do foreign words become English words?
That's a good question. I mean, I imagine a lot of the foreign words come in because of the growing community of people who speak foreign languages living in, for example, the UK. And it's a very interesting question. At what point do they become English words? So at what point does a word that, a large group of people living in an inner circle, so-called country, at what point do we decide that's part of the the official language of that country?
Yeah.
But this is going to sound weird, but being in an English dictionary doesn't make it an English word. It just means it's been used in an English-speaking community.
But then what does make a word, any word, a word?
Well, but that's an interesting question. Does it even mean that it's being used in an English-speaking community? Or does it just mean that it's being used?
It obviously does, because that's how they choose words. They choose it based on the amount of it's been used from spoken corpora, in written parlance and things like that.
Okay. But yeah, it's a good question. So what does it mean to say something's an English word?
Well, I don't think the dictionary answers the question. Here's the English language in this dictionary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just the dictionary is just a collection of words.
Yeah. Well, the dictionary is meant to be kind of, I guess you'd say like kind of like a gate. The words have passed through that gate, and then they're considered formally. You can use them in Scrabble. Is the point?
Right. Well, you can use a lot of words in Scrabble. But if somebody asked you, is aya an English word? What would you say?
So, like, there was a Japanese word, emoji, has recently been put into the dictionary, maybe 2 years ago. And I remember saying to my students, "Oh no, you can say emoji now. It's fine. That's in the English dictionary. It's fine." But I don't think I ever said, "Oh, that's our word now."
Yeah.
We've taken
Right, but you wouldn't say that about any words, would you? Or would you?
That's ours. You can't use it. Well, would you correct a student who is using aya in the classroom? Would you say here's an interjection that means the same thing in English? Because I think if I didn't know that was on this list now, I might have been tempted to do that in the past.
But knowing that it's on the list, you wouldn't?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing.
Use it in a sentence.
Well, you can't. It's an interjection. That's how they work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll move on to the next category. The next one is Americanizations, or American words.
My specialty.
Well, yeah. So, all right. So let's see if you know the meaning of all of these. First, this is another interjection. Forget about it.
Ah, yeah, I saw that. Yes.
Spelling, please.
FUHGEDDABOUDIT.
Yeah, you're not saying that.
That is the correct spelling, though.
Matt
which
can
I'm
say
glad I
that
got
correctly.
The next one is biatch. Yeah.
I mean, with the probably a lot of the Americanizations are mostly spread through like popular culture. TV
through the internet. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. The next category, words that it is surprising that they're not in there already. Okay, which includes card reader.
I'm not surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
You're surprised that that's not in. You're not surprised.
I'm not surprised that it's only just gotten in.
Really?
Yeah.
That to me seems like a very familiar word, but then I'm only 10 years old.
Exactly.
What else
I remember a time before card readers. So.
What else would you say?
What do you mean?
Put it in the.
Well, it's only a young technology.
Put it in the machine.
I guess I'd call it a card. But what exactly is a card reader?
It's a machine that you put a card into and it reads the card. And
like at an ATM or?
No, like
That's
in
the
the
shop.
shop.
Yeah, but also I think just like some computer,
Right.
There are things that are just used to read cards.
How about this one? Fine-tuned.
Okay, that one I'm surprised.
Yeah, that's not in
About.
there. We've also got little old lady as a noun, which apparently...
Hyphenated?
No, just 3 words. Vocabulary can include prefabricated
But that's,
things.
my grandmother taught me that knock-knock joke. Do you know the knock-knock joke?
All right, no, but
Knock-knock.
who's there?
Little old lady.
Little old lady who...
I didn't know you could yodel.
It's terrible. YOLO is in here as well.
YOLO is the one that made the headlines. I
Yes,
guess.
yeah,
And
yeah.
YOLO is, but it's always the one that makes the headline that you know is not going to last. Like that one's not going to last.
No. All right. Words that follow social trends. We've got clicktivism and slacktivism and slacktivist.
Clicktivism I haven't heard, but I've heard of the others.
Okay, well, it's basically that. It's an extension of slacktivism, clicktivism, just clicking things. And words that I don't know what they mean. So just quickly, what do you think these words mean? Bracketology.
Study of brackets.
Yeah,
Study of brackets. Okay.
obviously.
Is that true? Oh, you don't know, do you?
I don't know. I haven't checked. Squee.
That's the sound you make when you go down a slide.
No, it's not actually.
Okay.
Squee is when you see something very cute. You go.
And you make a noise.
Right. And
It's
it's
just the word squeal, but you've left off the last
yeah,
letter.
basically. But what's interesting is it's gone in as a verb, a noun, and as an interjection. It's all 3 of those.
Okay.
Scrumdiddlyumptious.
Yeah.
It's
Don't know what
delicious.
that means.
You get that one? All right. So there's a lot of new words here. I guess some of them will continue to be used. Some of them really should have been in there already, and some of them will fall out of favour. But yeah, that's today's TEFL news. The new list of words that's gone into the OED.
And we'll soon be in our classroom.
Yeah.
TEFL Pioneers.
This episode's TEFL pioneer is a man called Francis Lodwick, or Lodwick.
Okay.
Born 1619, died 1694. A merchant of Flemish origin
Okay.
who lived in London.
All right.
Fenchurch Street.
He was a fan of Church Street.
He was. Yeah.
Fenchurch.
Yeah, so his name appears in, the name is a collection of the names of the merchants living in and about the city of London, 1677, with the address Fenchurch Street.
Is that like notable men of the year 1933? Or
Right,
whatever?
right.
It's like-
So, yeah. They all got together and self-published it, I imagine.
yeah.
But yeah, it's probably the origin of Fenchurch.
Or is it the Yellow Pages?
They'd be yellow now. Too. Apparently, he had no higher education, but was admitted as a fellow to the Royal Society at the age of 60.
Okay.
So he was basically considered a pioneer of what are called a priori languages.
Okay. Those planned in advance. advance, as I just said that.
Not quite. So back then they called them philosophical languages. But this is maybe similar to your previous pioneer, Anne Vanderbilt Morris. Is that right?
Yeah.
So basically, these people interested in creating languages. So a priori languages is a constructed language in which all or most of its features are not based on existing languages.
Okay.
A posteriori languages have some kind of basis on existing languages.
That would be like interlingua or those kinds of things.
Yeah, so something like Esperanto apparently is a combination.
Right.
The vocabulary is based on Latin. So apparently he was part of a group of men who were constructing what they called back then philosophical languages, and he was maybe instrumental in the ideas behind creating, making up languages.
What was the motivation for these people to want to do this?
For this one I'm not sure, to be honest. So what usually they have some kind of lofty ideals about bringing humankind together. I'm not sure that was the case here, to be honest. His main interest seemed to be in pronunciation. So this is something that he created. This is can you read this?
The universal, or is that sul, or is it full? Is it an F or an S?
I presume it's an S.
Universal.
Oh, it's universal, I
Yes,
see.
yeah.
The universal alphabet.
Yes.
The table of
Consonants.
Or consonants.
Yeah.
Well, and now it is an S.
Well, but it's how they used to write S's.
Well, they're idiots. Why don't they write them properly?
No.
Okay, and then we've got a load of runes.
Yeah.
Perhaps for the listeners, what have you just shown us?
Well, listeners can pause and Google Lodwick alphabet, and they can find an image of this.
We'll put an image up on the.
Okay.
We'll put a link to it on.
Yeah.
So basically, it's 7 columns. Well, actually, 7 columns and then a few more below that. So basically, it's a system of representing consonants systematically. So the symbol, it's all to do with place of articulation.
Right.
So they have some symbols for place of articulation, bilabial, or dental, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then also modifications to those for the manner of articulation. So if they're voiced, voiceless, nasal, etc. So in theory, if you know the system, you can look at any symbol and know what sound that should make.
Okay. So it's like the IPA.
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Why?
Is it?
Well, the
Does that
IPA,
look like that?
if you have the symbol, then the symbol is the sound, right?
Right. But here, within the symbol itself, it gives you information about how that sound is made.
Okay. All right.
You see what I mean?
Kind of, but
Right.
yeah.
But the IPA is just a symbol that of course these are symbols that represent sounds too. But inherent in the shape of that symbol, there isn't necessarily the information to know how to pronounce it.
Right.
Does
Okay.
that make sense?
I see.
Yeah. And then there's a smaller table, although it contains the table of vowels is below.
Yeah.
And those are basically diacritics. So you would add those to these to indicate what vowel sound follows these consonant sounds.
I was just going to say that these are all numbers on it, but then I realised that that's
Oh yeah, sorry.
it's on its side, and that's the list. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So the idea here was you could write any language using this alphabet, and anybody who knows the symbols would be able to pronounce that language more or less.
You can't write those click languages with it.
Well, yeah. Lodwick probably wasn't thinking about those. the languages that were at hand in the mid 17th century.
Okay.
I guess. Okay. Well, first of all, what do you think of creating a new writing system such as this?
It's probably it's good. I mean, like English spelling's notoriously complicated. So I think if you can simplify it, like what happened in America, then that's probably for the best.
Okay.
In some sense, but yeah, I don't know. I guess if you learn it as a child, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the Koreans did that, didn't they? They just invented a new writing system.
Yeah. Some of this looks.
Yeah, I was going to say
Korean.
that's Korean.
Yeah.
But I think if you turn it that way, it's CU with a thing on it, and OU with a thing on it. So it's fast.
What is its purpose? Because without knowing the historical context and the purpose, it's hard to know what to make of it, I guess.
Right.
You know, if it was out of protest or disdain for the
Well,
language
it's so
currently
the name the
spoken.
universal alphabet basically means that with the understanding that we have many different writing systems
Yeah.
in different languages around the world,
Sure.
he was proposing just having one system to write all languages.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the idea there would be, I mean, I don't know, you'd be able to, you know, read something, you wouldn't necessarily know what it meant.
Right.
But maybe it's a start, I'm not sure. One thought I had was, I guess it's quite clever to say that, you know, a backwards diagonal line will tell the reader that that's going to be a labial sound, and then a hook at the bottom is going to tell you that's voiced or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's not that many of them, and I think you would just get to the point where you know what each symbol represents.
Right.
Like that it seems kind of unnecessary to.
Yeah, because I mean, people, you know, if you learn the IPA, it's not that difficult to learn. Like, I had to learn it for the diploma.
Mm-hmm.
If you learn that, then you know you're kind of you're set, and it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was doing a little research into Lodwick and into prior languages in general, I came across another character. His name is Cave Beck.
Okay.
First name Cave,
Okay.
last name Beck. Around the same, he was around at the same time as Lodwick. He was born in 1623, died around 1706. Seemed to be in maybe in London, certainly in England. He was a schoolmaster and a clergyman, again, as all our pioneers seem to have been. And he created a universal language. He was trying to create a universal language, which he explained in his book, The Universal Character, or I should give it its full title, The Universal Character by which all nations in the world may understand one another's conceptions, reading out of one common writing their own mother tongues, an invention of general use, the practice whereof may be attained in 2 hours' space, observing the grammatical directions, which character is so contrived that it may be spoken as well as written.
This is like with basic English, where they say, oh, you can learn it in a weekend. Yeah. It's like, is this the first of these claims of you can learn our language without even trying?
It could be, yeah. So he did want to make things really simple. So he was trying to invent a universal language. Anybody can understand it. It was based on the Arabic numerals, 0 through to 9 that we use today. And that's basic. That's how the writing system works. It's you only use numbers.
Okay, they're like computer code.
Yeah, kind of, but 10 of them. And so each number had a pronunciation. So 1 was on, 2 was tu, tre, 4, fi, sik, sen, at, nin, o.
Right.
So the idea was that you could combine these numbers, and then you could express all the main words in any language by combining these numbers. But I think basically the way it works, each word was assigned a unique number.
Right.
And that number would be the same, whatever the native language. So basically you would have, you'd have 10,000 different words, each made up of a string of numbers.
Yeah. I'm not sold on that, to be honest.
No. So a lot of the words were, basically it didn't work out very well because people were very interested in the idea, but not the execution. A lot of the words were basically just way too long to be manageable, and it was just difficult to figure any of this out.
So what contribution did he make to modern language teaching? Are any of these words in the OED?
I think 14967 is going to be in there soon. No, I think he was the first to warn us unintentionally against quick learning methods.
Okay.
But this made me think. This seems a pretty stupid idea, to be honest, to convert all of languages into strings of numbers.
You hear that, computer scientist? You hear what he's saying about you?
Because they all listen.
Which made me think, what do you think would be the stupidest or the most cumbersome or unlikely way of creating a new language
Just making it all through fart sounds of different tones.
Okay, so no longer
different smells. The smell.
No longer oral communication.
Yeah.
That's quite a radical.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a written form of this?
You don't want to see it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, let's do it.
The next episode is going to be.
That's what you're asking, right? Are we going to do this?
I was thinking like maybe something to do with colors.
Mm-hmm.
So you have different shades of colors to represent.
Okay.
That's not universal.
But yeah, you can't say, or you'd say yellow, pink, green, blue.
Right. You'd say so. Like maybe the warm colors are verbs and the cold colors are nouns or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you describe a bluish green with a hint of yellow.
Okay.
That would be a dog or something.
I don't think this is going to work. And the writing would be just pictures, would it?
Yeah, the writing would be like a series of boxes
Just
of
to
different
pick-
colors.
I think the Egyptians got there before you on that one.
Right. Yeah.
Seems like the fallacy with all of this is you need to document it in a current language.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like, so the language you're just describing
right.
still needs to be documented using a real language.
Right.
So that, and it won't be found by anyone otherwise.
So you think the key to making up a new language is it's one that can be taught without using the mother tongue, the L1?
Yeah, or like you were talking about using colours, like you have to find a way to teach it without using words.
I guess when the technology is, or already if you have an iPad and a color thing,
Yeah.
you have probably millions of colors on your iPad that you can.
Yeah, but I was also thinking, like quite often teachers just go to countries where they can't speak the language at all and teach it without using any of the students' language. So,
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds familiar.
So I guess Tolkien is one of the most famous people who is in making up languages.
yeah.
But apparently, I think this is what he did. I know modern people do this for TV shows and movies. They'll do this. So they'll create a language, and then they'll figure out how that language evolves. So there'll be the proto language, and then they'll have a few generations later.
Yeah.
So they'll have a few inconsistencies, and nobody will ever know what that original language was.
Right.
So getting better at it. Okay, that was this week's TEFL pioneer. I guess I should say it. Well, we had two of them. We had Francis Lodwick and we had Cave Beck.
Okay, so thanks for listening to this rather slap-happy episode.
If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can send an email to teflology@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter @TEFLology. We also have a Facebook page. If you go there and search for the TEFLology Podcast, you'll find it. Any likes, comments, shares would be greatly appreciated. And
we say this every week, but do subscribe. That really helps our podcast. It really helps to reach more people in the world. Do it. So it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
We'll take this bit out. Yeah.